Let's put some music. Woo! It's the Brazil Expat Journal, the BJ you can trust. We are back, folks. I said I'm going to try to keep this regular, more regular than my poop schedule.
Oh my gosh, Phil.
Yeah, Anyway, well, there's a lot of fiber in Brazil. Apparently, not enough. So, guys, welcome to the Brazil Expat Journal. We are back. It's Thursday night, and we have a really hot topic for you guys tonight. And hello, Zero to Hero. He's waiting, and everybody else that was waiting. The topic tonight, guys, is that first year in Brazil, first year blues, which we did talk about a little bit with Vlad. So check that video out. It's down, like, I think it's around number 40 something. So check that out, because he was actually fresh off the boat, so to speak, and he gave us a real like man on the street version of what it's like to be here. Very, very, very very early in your expat journey, and it's not always easy. Hello, Miss Kira, are you there?
I am here. I'm
All right,
here.
speak loud so we can hear you. Okay,
All
get
right.
close
I
to that
hope you
microphone.
guys can all hear
Your
me.
voice is so low, my dear. Get close to that mic.
I am
But
very
anyway,
loud.
guys, speaking of Brazilian issues, so today we're going to talk about your first year expat blues and the things that you need to consider when you move on from the honeymoon phase. We like to call, a lot of expats like to call the first 6 months or so, 4 months, the honeymoon phase. And it can extend longer if you're just kind of on tourist mode and you're going back to the US, coming back down, going back to the US, and you don't really know what it's like to live in the country, because you're not really living in the country. You're just, going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Oh, Kira said for me to turn up the volume. Anyway, so she left for a little bit, guys, because both of our iFoods decided that they wanted to arrive exactly at this time. Hers came first, and then I hope mine doesn't come now, because if it does, then we will. Oh, wait, who's there? If it does, then we'll both be gone. Sorry, guys, a lot of weird shit happening right now. Oh, I think Pete's going to join us. That would be nice. So let me put Pete on. And this is a call-in show. So if anybody wants to join us, I will send you a link where you can call in towards the end. So first year in Brazil, what are some of the things that you need to consider? Well, first off, I'm going to tell you this, because a lot of people won't tell you this. Bring a jacket. It is cold in Brazil right now. I'm loving the weather. I am not, I don't have issues at all with this cold weather. But if you're coming to Brazil thinking it's going to be sunshine and rainbows all the time, it's not. If you go south of Rio de Janeiro, it starts to get a little bit colder than usual. So that's my first tip to you guys, is bring a jacket. Bring a jacket. And especially because Brazilians don't make very good winter clothes, because although the cold is there, it doesn't last very long, especially here in Sao Paulo. Sao Paulo, the weather is insane. Like 2 weeks ago, it was like, I don't know, like in the 30s, in the 40s maybe, with really strong winds, and it was just really, really, really cold. And the way that the houses are set up down here, they don't have insulation. A lot of them are made with concrete and not wood. So there's not a lot of space to put in insulation. So if you get it, even the newer houses, but especially older houses, won't have any insulation. So you will freeze your balls off. And look who's here. It's Peter. What's up, mister?
Hey, man.
How's it going? So, Peter, tonight we're talking about first year expat blues, all the struggles that you go through your first year here in Brazil. And one of the first things that I was telling these folks is that it gets cold down here. It does get colder than
depends on where you are. If
it depends on where you are, but South Korea.
Yeah.
If you're
Yeah,
going
and not
south of
just
Rio, you're
cold,
gonna get cold.
not just cold. I think this year in Sao Paulo, it actually hit a record low of -2 in some neighborhoods.
Damn.
Yeah,
-2. That's Celsius and not Fahrenheit, folks.
that is correct. Yeah, it caused a plane crash, actually.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, guys, there was a plane crash. What, last month was it, right?
Yeah, yeah. Basically, a pitot tube got
Wait up, I
covered in
disconnected my
ice,
Bluetooth
and they
here. So
got
make
incorrect
sure you can
speed ratings, and the plane went up and it went down. And yeah, that was because of ice in Brazil. So it does get cold.
Yeah, let me see. I think I got video of that. There you go. Cell phone video captures moment plane crashes. Look at this, guys. It's pretty harrowing. If you're afraid of flying like me, do not watch this. Oh, we got a little commercial.
Sepia.
Sepia. Tonight.
An investigation is underway after a plane.
Oh my God, CBS, they're gonna kill me here. There it is. Look at that. Look at that going down and
Yeah,
boom.
because they had ice in the pitot tube, and that fucks up your speed indications. If you don't know how fast you're going, you're in a world of trouble.
Yeah, it killed all 62 people on board. So
Yeah.
that's pretty scary, guys. Here's a. It's crazy because they got so many angles of this plane going down. It's so scary. Moments.
Yeah,
before
because it was
dropping.
directly from the airport. It was like from when it took off.
Yeah. So scary stuff. Hopefully, we won't get any problems with CBS News because I put that on the screen. But pretty scary stuff. So yeah, I think that's the first tip. Just because it's so different, and I don't think a lot of people consider the fact that Brazil does get cold, and even if you are in the state of Rio de Janeiro, because there's some cities in the state of Rio de Janeiro that are up on the hills, like Petrópolis, Teresópolis, and those places get cold too. So don't think just because you're in Rio, you're not going to get some cold days. So that would be our first tip. Miss Kira's back. Did you get your food?
Oh, say it again.
Did you get your food?
I did.
All right. Peter's here. Hi. Say hi to Peter.
Hi, Peter.
Hi, Kira. Sorry about last time. New computer.
No
It's all
worries.
different now.
All right. Happy to have you.
Your audio is a million times better. It's a million times better, which makes me happy. Makes me very happy. Anyway, so guys, let's get to it. What are some things that you think, like, what would be for you the first thing that a person should consider when they're coming to Brazil that's gonna, might be a little bit difficult for them as far as the logistics of it? Because later we're gonna talk about cultural, but not on this episode. We will have a breakdown of cultural differences, but we're gonna have a Brazilian on that's gonna be able to, give us as much shit as we're gonna give Brazilians. So I'm gonna wait for him to be on to do that. But I'm just talking logistics, like getting a CPF, things like that. What would you say, Kira?
I think everything. Everything is just hard. So a CPF, even learning how to use the metro, and we are not able to get like a card and be able to like refill that card. You either have to use cash or because everything in Brazil is not, how do I say it correctly or nicely, I should say, they have their own way of doing things. And like, I know many people have come after me and can't open like a virtual new bank account. I was able to do it with my passport. And so like, that's how I am able to buy tickets and using my debit card. But if you don't, you always have to have cash, and you always have to use cash for the bus and for the metro. The CPF, it's about, I think, who you know and the luck of that day that you go on getting it. That was a struggle on its own. What else? Even money can be very hard depending on the bank. I have like a private bank that's based in Georgia, and that bank or my card only works with Bradesco Bank. Doesn't matter if I go to Itaú, doesn't matter if I go to any other bank that is here. That card will not work anywhere else. So that can be frustrating. I think I had to think of more. What do you think, Pete?
Well, yeah, the CPF thing was easy for me because my employer took care of it all. So it was super easy. I arrived here with a job, and yeah, I think in the first week they had somebody. Jason knows this guy, British Jason, big fat blonde guy. Yeah, he drove me to the police station. He speaks good Portuguese. He took me through it. I got a CPF right away. I have not progressed past that point, which is the problem, because after the CPF, the next step is the RNA, the foreign residence ID, which I still don't have, which means I can't have a bank account. My passport's expired, so I can't travel either, which really sucks. But yeah, the CPF is a very, very necessary thing. If you're from Canada, it's like your social insurance number. If you're from America, it's like your social security number. We don't think of these things as big things outside of getting a job. But in Brazil, they're really important. You need them to buy concert tickets. In a lot, depends on the ticketing service, but like if you want to enter a club or buy concert tickets or buy a lot of other things, you definitely need that number. And for me, I'm lucky. It was easy. Like my employer set it all up for me. Didn't have to think about it. But definitely that is important.
Hey guys, yes, definitely. I put that on the screen there. If you just Google how to get a CPF, there's a few extra steps now that you need to take compared to before. It used to be a lot easier, like Peter said. And now it's a little bit of like Kira said, it depends on the day, depends on who's there, but you need the CPF for damn near everything. I mean, even ordering iFood or like you're going to buy a cell phone, SIM card, like you just can't live without a CPF in Brazil. I mean, you can.
This is true. No, with the cell phone thing, holy crap. Depending on your service, especially even if you buy like a chip, okay, you buy a chip from some vendor, you don't need a CPF.
Yeah.
But God forbid you lose your phone or it gets damaged or your card gets damaged or stolen and you have to replace it. If you want your number back, it doesn't matter if you used your CPF to get that number. You will need to have your CPF to get your number back. And
Exactly.
yeah, I've had
Exactly.
major headaches with that.
And unless you know somebody, like when I first got here, oh, am I muted or am I on?
No, we
Yeah.
can hear you.
Okay. Guys, I'm asking to mute just because sometimes you get feedback if there's a lot of people on. So I'm playing the mute game here. So it says here, who needs a CPF? Pretty much everybody does, but it says here, you'll need a CPF to buy and sell property, start and operate a company, contract with utility companies, enroll in universities, open a bank account, and the list goes on and on. Even where CPF isn't required, you'll often be told you need one. If you're leasing an apartment, then the landlord will probably ask for one. Are you signing a contract? Pretty much they're going to ask for one. Are you buying goods online? Definitely they're going to ask you for one. So yeah, like Pete said, in the US, it'd be like your social security card. Just that you don't use your social security card for everything. You just memorize it. You probably don't even know where your physical card is. In here, it's like you actually got to know this number and use it all the time. It used to be the RG too. I haven't been asked for my RG that much lately, which is a national number. Because, like, guys, as I've said, I was born here. So I have the RG, which is Registro Geral, something like this. It's like the general register. And then the CPF is like your tax ID number. And yeah, you got to get you that. Actually, that I'm going to piggyback on my own thought because that's another thing that for me was really difficult is carrying so many documents because I never did it in the US. I mean, we use our driver's license like as our document and we're rarely asked for it unless we're going into a club and we look younger than we are. Maybe they'll card you. But I'm trying to think like on a daily, how many times I would have to like pull out my ID or say my ID number in the US. And it was basically never. In here in Brazil, it's like all the time. And that's why I lost documents here so many times. I just couldn't keep track of them because before it used to be two separate cards. It was the RG card plus the CPF plus your workbook if you're working like contracts. It's like all this paperwork. So that's another thing man, when you come to Brazil, and I'm sure Kira and Peter will agree, it's like you gotta get used to paperwork just to do basic shit. Like you got here in Brazil, they call it the pastinha, the famous pastinha. Pastinha is just a little folder, one of those little accordion type folders that that's not pastinha, that's a samba player. But pastinha for documentos, pastinha de documentos. There you go. Yeah, get yourself one of these. I have one, in the other room. It looks exactly like this. And I have everything in there, including my birth certificate, copies of my birth certificate, high school diploma, university certificates, diplomas, everything needs to be on there, and it needs to be notarized, sometimes translated. Brazil is tape central, man.
Yeah, I mean, just to buy concert tickets, like for me, because I don't have any photo ID now. Like my passport expired, and because of Canadian bureaucracy, which is also fucked, I can't get a new passport because I don't have a secondary piece of photo ID. So, in order to buy concert tickets, I need to present any form of ID I have, which is only my birth certificate, my CPF, and a letter from the police saying why I don't have a photo ID. So,
Wow.
yeah, because Kira, I actually got lucky. I got robbed in Cracklandia. I got jumped and beaten up really severely, and they took my passport. But the thing was, my passport was expired anyway because Brazilians don't check. But the good thing about this was I could file a police report saying my passport was stolen, and now I have a letter at least explaining why I don't have photo ID. So it worked out good, except for the beating, the robbery, the injury.
Yeah.
But I got that letter from the police, so it's good.
I'm very sorry that you went through that. And two, just your whole situation just sounds like a headache. I will say that on my end, I do not go through that. I am kind of like a baby, and feel it takes care of me a lot. If there are certain things that I want and it's just a lot of reading or a lot of paperwork, I have a Brazilian friend just do it for me and I fix them. Um, Also in the beginning, especially like with iFood or a movie ticket, or I've also learned that you do not need to say your CPF number a lot. So I'll just say no ting, I don't have one. And they put in a number. That has helped me a lot. You can also generate a CPF. I don't know if you guys know that. So
That helped me a lot this year. Yes, I
yeah.
generated a CPF for something.
That's a nice hack.
Yeah, it is. I like it.
I like what you said though, because a lot of times vendors will try to help you if they see that, one, that you're trying to buy something because they want to make money. So even if you buy a cell phone or a SIM card or something, depending on the vendor, they might put in their own CPF, because it's not really like, if you don't pay your bills, their CPF might, it might. That's a thing, because their CPF could get hit with it. But it's a cell phone, so generally they're okay with it because it's not like a lot. But depends. I mean, if you get a nice vendor, they might just put in their CPF just so you register the phone, because like if you don't pay your phone bill, it's not gonna damage the CPF, especially if you do the prepago, where you put credit on your phone and it is pay as you go, credit on your phone, pay as you go. If you're doing a plan, they might not be so amenable to that. But yeah, guys, CPF. So I think that's tip number one. That for a lot of people that love this country and have tried to move here, and I think Kira, you were like on the edge for this. That's usually when people quit Brazil. Like they just can't deal with the bureaucracy and just getting their shit straight because after you do that, then Brazil gets good again. I mean, you still got to deal with some.
Depends. I feel like Brazil has always just been an emotional roller coaster for me.
That is true.
Yes. And I would say, in terms of paperwork versus, I guess, like relationships or friendships, I would take the paperwork and police federal any day over the emotions that come with friendships and like relationships here.
But when did you get here, Kara? Because went through some tumultuous times. Morocco.
I've only been here 2 years and 4 months now, 4 or 5 months.
Okay, so you missed 2016. You missed the pandemic.
Oh yeah, no, I had just graduated high school at that time.
Right. Oh my God, you're such a baby.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's a baby.
yeah.
I
I
am
mean,
almost 30, Phil. I need everybody to put some respect on my age, please.
okay.
Anyway,
But yeah, there were some really up and down times here from 2016 to 2020. You didn't know if you were coming or going. So it was like the love affair would be like 6 months, and then it
Mhm.
would be like 10 months of like, well, I wish I'd gotten out of it during the love affair because now I can't. Yeah, now I'm stuck here and I regret this whole terrible decision. And it was a cycle. Post pandemic, it's been nice, but
Mm. Yeah, it's been even. It's been a pretty steady shit, like since
yeah.
the pandemic. Like it's not great. Things are very expensive at the moment. By the way, like and subscribe if you enjoy this content. But yeah, post pandemic, it's been a little bit more stable. We're just kind of on cruise control. It's just I wish it was cruise control, like good cruise control. We're just kind of like not drowning in cruise control. But speaking of emotional roller coasters, guys, like I said, we will be having a similar talk probably next week, but maybe the week after, where we will talk about some of these challenges on the emotional level and the cultural differences that make Brazil sometimes a difficult place to get your stuff going in. It's the Dream Stream Show. Yeah, what's up, Travelmatic? Nice to see you. I think for me, that was the hardest thing is dealing with that, as far as getting off the ground because it feels like it's never going to happen because every time you think you figured it out, how stuff works here, uh, you just get knocked on your ass again. And you're like, what the hell is that? And then you have to keep getting up and then you get knocked down again, keep getting up. And one thing that Pete said, which was about this cycle, every country has cycles, economic cycles, political cycles, et cetera, et cetera. It just seems like in Brazil, it's faster because the country itself is so unstable that you go through these drastic changes from, like Pete gave a good example, like 6 months it'll be fine, then 10 months of hell, and then maybe, I don't know, 8 months of good times, and then 3 months of hell, and then you're back to 4 months of good time, and then 8 months of hell. You're like, what the heck? I spoke about this on Ace's channel, where since I've been in Brazil, I've seen a president be impeached, and then the other one, I guess would be Bolsonaro, which probably is going to go to jail, and then Lula, which went to jail, and now he's the president. I'm like, what the hell? Like in American history, that would be like within 100 years of American history, maybe that's happened, whereas in Brazil, it happened within the space of 10 years. I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah, four presidents, and one of them served 2 terms that were 10 years apart.
Yes.
And he was in jail for a large part of that time.
Yeah, I mean, he just wasn't president the last 4 years ago because he was in jail. He couldn't run against Bolsonaro. And then when he got out of jail and ran against Bolsonaro and won, it's freaking insane. So I think that's really, really, really something that you got to recognize before you come down here. And also recognize the business cycle down here is different than the business cycle in the US. Because in Brazil, shop closes for the holidays, obviously, Christmas and New Year's, but then you have Carnival that comes right after that. And that was something that screwed me my first year here. And I lost a lot of money because I just didn't do my research. I didn't listen to the Brazil Expat Journal before coming to Brazil. So, when I came here, I just thought, oh, business as usual. I didn't save up any money in October. I didn't work a little harder in November. So then December, January, February of no work. That's 3 months of basically no work. And then you're getting back to work in March. I was like, oh, shit. So please be aware of that business cycle in Brazil.
Yeah, if you do not have a salary and you're not flush by the end of the year, you got two choices. don't travel or accept that you are fucked.
Yeah,
That would
bro.
this is our topic, right? Your first year in Brazil.
First
My
year, yeah.
yeah, my first year in Brazil, I was also unaware of that business cycle.
You got here
And
what, 2016, right, Pete? Or 15,
no,
14?
2014.
Okay.
And yeah, it came like, okay, December 15th, the school is closing up. And it's like, I don't know, we made no money actually. So I didn't make that much. I was making like less than 2,000 because I was living in a provincial city or state city, Jundiaí. And I was like, okay, so when are we getting back to work? They're like, well, we'll be having some classes in January, but not a lot. But, after Carnival, and I was like, holy shit, I have no fucking money. And it's going to be like 3 goddamn months before we get back to work. What am I going to do? And, fortunately, the January work was enough, but it was a hard lesson to learn. Like, you need to be like a squirrel hoarding nuts for winter. Come like October, November, December,
Oh my
take
gosh.
any job you can get, man. Take
I
that
did
cash,
not know
put it
that.
away. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I didn't even know that. So I have a complete opposite experience from these guys. I still work in the States. So I'm not saving for the end of the year, and I can only imagine how that would stress me out if I didn't know. So my take is different. I would say that the end of the year can be crazy because so many people come down or so many Brazilians are off of work. So do your research ahead of places that you want to go. Try to book your flights earlier. Be aware of scams. I haven't had that experience, but I know other people who have booked a tour or something, or to go up to like Minas Gerais, or how do you pronounce it, Pete? Lençóis Maranhenses? How do you say it correctly?
I think Phil would know that better than I would.
Okay, well,
Lençóis Maranhenses. Lençóis
yes.
Maranhenses.
That place, and be aware of the scams. Definitely read the comments. Again, like if you're trying to come down November, December, I would start booking stuff honestly now, September, early October. There's so much to do at that time. Try to get the best deals. Calculate, do again, I just cannot put enough pressure on. Just do your research. Look at TikToks, look at Instagrams, look at Facebook. Utilize those resources. But yeah,
Listen
no,
to our show. Listen to our show.
and listen to our show. Yes. Oh my god.
This is so true. These cycles, and guys, last week, Kira and I were talking about common sense. Walking around the streets of São Paulo, etc. Just have common sense, and we came to the conclusion. Well, Kira came to the conclusion. I agreed with her that not everybody has common sense. So I'm surprised how many people don't realize that Brazil is in the southern hemisphere. So also be aware of that. When you're coming down for December, you're coming down for the summer. And the summer is like the high season, just like in the US. So imagine if you're trying to go to Miami Beach and book a nice little Airbnb and chill on, and hang out at the beach. You don't want to do that a week before you go to Miami Beach in July, because that shit's going to be packed. So the same thing you got to think about when you're coming to Brazil. If you're coming October forward, but definitely December, January, February, shit is gonna be packed. Because not only is it the holidays, you get Christmas, you get New Year's and Carnival, but it's in the middle of the summer. That's when everybody's traveling. The kids are out of school, so they'll be traveling. January is like half and half. I have some good years in January, some bad years in January, because businesses will go back to work. So if you're an English teacher, you will have work in January, but if you're teaching, especially if you teach kids or if you're just doing any freelance stuff, forget about it. It's a really, really, really rough period. First year blues. Wait up, guys. Give me some more first year blues, because speaking of blues, my dog is crying out here. I don't know what is going on. I gave him food, so I'll be right back. Let me go check on my dog. But give us some more first year horror stories. I love first year horror stories. Wait up.
Oh, first year horror stories for me. when we were talking about emotional, like guys, I'm a very emotional person, just gonna put it out there, is friendships. That one was just always a roller coaster for me. So, one, you have the language barrier. Two, for me, I have the problem where, again, like I said, I still work in the States. So, the difference in income and wanting to experience things with certain people and getting used. Also, the difference of just how they operate here when it comes to friendships. So, I am also emotional, I am also an introvert. I'm also a person who prefers quality relationships over having a quantity amount of friends. So I would love to just have one friend, just do everything with that one friend. That is not how Brazilians, or maybe I can only speak about people in Sao Paulo, work. You're gonna have a person you go get drinks with. You're gonna have a person who you go clubbing with, a person you go to the movies with, and it is still taken me almost 2 years and 4 months later that I'm still learning that and trying to find that balance. Phil did advise me of that early on. Another thing that also, it was hard for me. I am not a drinker. I am not a night owl. I like to be in the house before 8 p.m. And I drink when I go out, which is maybe 2 times a year. So that was very hard for me to adjust. And again, like I said earlier, it's still hard for me to adjust. What about you, Pete, with your friendships?
Well, yeah, but the thing is, that is actually, I don't know. I'm like in my 50s, and I think actually that's the normal human evolution of your attitude towards friendships. Like when you're younger, you want a friend who will do everything with you, but
Mm-hmm.
as you get older, you compartmentalize, and I think Brazilians are better at that. Um,
Mm,
I have those same friendships with Brazilians. Like, you got the non-drinker that you just like have a meal with and chat. You have the rock and roller that you like to go party with. You have
yeah.
the club person who will be out to sunrise. And that's good for me. I don't need like one all-purpose friend for everything. And I think
Mm,
that's normal. And I think Brazilians accept that more. The problem I had most with Brazilian friendships is how like you have these moments where it's like, oh man, like yeah, we're brothers, man. And then like you find out the dude got married and he didn't even invite you to his wedding. He's like, yeah,
wow.
yeah, he's nobody. So the kind of two-faced aspect of it where like when you're in the moment and everything is good and they're your best friends and you take that at face value and then you realize like no they compartmentalize even more than you do. Like they compartmentalize to the point where if I haven't known you for like 20 years and shared X amount of experiences, there's certain things you're going to be excluded from.
That, yeah, that I'm very grateful I have not had that experience, but that would be something that would for sure make me want to leave. I would say I had the experience of being the first. I hate it now. I am just in a negative mind space when it comes to this. I hate being the first American friend. I,
Yeah,
I'm
the
so
first
tired of
foreign
it.
friend, the
Say it
first
again.
the first foreign friend even.
Yeah, the first foreign friend. And there were times where it was just very hard for me. I remember I was friends with this one person. And anytime that I was vulnerable or just felt that I can trust this person, they would record me while I was crying and put me on TikTok. They say, guys,
Oh my
my
god,
green girlfriend is sad right now. Pray for her. Like,
that's
what?
oh,
What?
that's so bad. Yeah,
Yeah.
you see, where I've lucked out in Brazilian friendships is I think a lot of them have revolved around going to live music events. And so when I connect with people at these events, and if I'm giving advice here, it would be do what you like to do back home. I mean, if you like staying at home, that's not helpful in terms of making friends. But if you like going out, do what you like to do when you went out back home because you will meet other people like you. And it's not just going to be about you being the gringo. Like for me, I like music, I like movies, I like comic books. So when I went out, I would meet people who liked those things. And it didn't become about me being the gringo. It became about like the things that we had in common, mutual interests.
So
So
I do have a question. When you met those people, because this is also a problem I've had, I'll go to these places, I click, we'll exchange social media or WhatsApp. And then I would reach out to that person and my message would be left on scene. Like they would read the message and not respond, or they respond like 2 months later. Did you ever have that experience?
yes, yes. But what I learned from that is you can't be needy. You can't project yourself as needy. Like basically you have to not give a fuck. Like send a message, say like, hey, I met you, blah, blah, blah. And if they don't respond, then don't give a shit. And if they
What
hit,
you
you
got
know,
Agree with
at the
that.
first year? Was that very hard for you in your first year? Because I feel like now I'm on my second year. I'm kind of in that mood. But your first year, I feel like emotionally, when you're new, you just want friends, you want to experience
yeah.
things with people. That's hard.
No, my
Well,
first year wasn't that hard though, because I lived in Jundiaí, which is a really small town. So
Oh,
you're gonna run into everybody. It's a
okay.
lot different in Sao Paulo.
Got it.
But
Got it.
in Jundiaí, like, no, I didn't have that problem because I ran into these people everywhere. There's only like three places to go.
Yeah, I agree with Pete. It depends on the size of the city. I didn't have too many issues like meeting people, but then I speak pretty fluent Portuguese. So of course, the language barrier is going to make that aspect a little bit tougher, like making friends and stuff like that. But it depends on where you live too. And it's really crazy how I have friends here from the States that I don't see them as much. They live here in Sao Paulo. I see them much less here in Sao Paulo than I did in the States because you're just so busy in just the city itself sometimes can be tough to manage. I found a site here that I want to get into, guys, because I want to talk about just some more logistical stuff. And one of the things to consider when you're moving to Brazil, of course, cost of living is usually high on people's list. The dollar's pretty strong right now, so is the euro. It's like 5.50 or something. It's close to six. It's not six, but it's up there. So of course your dollar and your euro is going to go further. That doesn't mean that stuff isn't expensive here right now. I mean, the whole world is kind of going through an economic crisis. So just consider that it's cheaper, but it'll catch up to you. But I wanted to piggyback on that and just think about some logistical stuff when you're coming down. First off, is there's more places to live than just Sao Paulo and Rio. Majority of expats are in Sao Paulo and Rio, but you also have cities like Salvador. You have Florianopolis down in the south, which the expats that do live there, they love it. I mean, they say it's like a cleaner, safer, more beautiful version of Rio. It's just not as famed. Porto Alegre, all the way down south, is a very popular city for expats, and so is Brasilia, the capital of Brazil, which is out west. Which I don't know if I would recommend living in Brasilia. People that do live there, they say that they live around the satellite cities. I've been to Brasilia. It's a sight to behold. It's a weird city because it was built with this idea of being like the city of the future. Like there's no curbs on the sidewalks. There's like everything's curvy because Niemeyer is the famous Brazilian architect that put the city together, and he's famous for his curves. And so in the city is shaped like an airplane. It's a bizarre place. It was good for about 3 days, and I'm like, I need to get the hell out of here because it's really dead and really dry at night. So one, that's the first thing I think people really need to consider, because Pete just said something really important, which is if you're doing what you did back home down here, you should be okay. You're going to meet people. If you like music, you're going to meet people that like music. If you like riding a bike, running, you're going to meet people that like this stuff, but you got to be in the right place. So if you're a surfer and you come to Sao Paulo, you're not going to meet a lot of surfers, even though they're here, but they all go to the little coastal cities in the summer. But it's tough for you to meet them because you would never know that they were a surfer until you actually got to know them. Now, if you're already at the coastal city and you got your board and you see somebody else with the board, obviously you're going to meet these people much better. So you need to consider the fact that Brazil is huge. Okay, I always make the comparison. It's almost like the United States, west to east. just turn north to south. It's more or less the same landmass, the area. So that's a lot of people. That's a lot of very different people with a lot of different cultures. So every city is going to give you a different style of life. And some of them you might get into, like I love Sao Paulo. I fell in love with Salvador. Others you might not. I'm not really into the Rio vibe. Other people love Rio de Janeiro, but they're very different vibes depending on the city. So choose your city wisely before you go. And if you're going to find a place, that's another thing that you really need to consider, is that the renting here, it's the process is a little bit longer. We talked about this a little bit last week. If we're actually leasing a property, not just getting that Airbnb, longer contracts, usually they're 30 months. Usually you need a co-signer here in Brazil, so these are bureaucratic processes that can really put like a wrench in your plan if you're trying to like find a house. Listen to last week's episodes. I gave a couple horror stories from friends of mine who are paying for 2 houses at once because of stuff like that. So consider that, okay? Where you're going to live, buying a house. Consider healthcare. In Brazil, you can use some foreign healthcare services, but Brazil does have a system called SUS, which is a universal healthcare. It works really well for like emergencies. I know Pete's been to SUS a couple times for emergencies. I don't recommend it if you have something chronic. Okay, I remember one year I had this really, really, really painful earache, and I went to SUS, and they were like, oh, "Okay, you're on the list. It'll take about 3 months for the doctor to see you." I was like, "What?" So I just went to a clinic. I paid 100 reais, and I got my ear fixed. It's just like a buildup of wax. And it was something simple, but I would have had to wait 3 months to see a doctor. And that stuff was putting so much pressure on my ear that like my jaw was hurting. It was really painful. So SUS is very important, SUS, but there's really good hospitals here. And there are a lot of good Brazilian healthcare companies. My favorite is Amil, AMIL. And man, they put the American hospitals to shame. I'm sorry. Like I've been to U.S. hospitals a couple times. Like the hospitals are clean. The clinics are nice. I mean, again, you get what you pay for here. You're going to pay a little bit more. You're going to get better service. Education in Brazil. I know there's a lot of people out there that are thinking of moving down here with their kids. All 3 of us do not have children. So we come from a different perspective.
I have a son, but he's just
I'm sorry. In Brazil, that's what I meant to say. Yes, yeah. You do have a son, and I raised Jose. Jose is like my kid, but like actual like living with you kid that you need to take to school every day. I wouldn't recommend it. Some people do it. I know plenty of expats that have left Brazil as soon as they had kids. At least like once the kid got to be like around 8 or 9. Because they wanted them to have a better education abroad, because the education system here is really bad. Even look, Brazil currently is ranked number 32 in the world for education. At present, only 69% of 15 to 19-year-olds enroll in education. I'm reading from this site here, William Russell. I don't know who this guy is, but I like this site, so give him a little bit of love there. Guys, talk amongst yourself a little bit. My iFood just arrived. But education, stuff like this, if you're a parent and you're adult, you got to think about these things because it's not the same quality as you're going to get abroad. Actually, speaking of which, maybe you guys can talk a little bit about what are some things that you notice quality-wise it's not the same in the U.S. versus Brazil for services and stuff like that. I'll be right back.
Oh my gosh, I feel like clothes for me. Clothes. Jesus. So I lived obviously I'm American, so I lived in the States. And so going to places like H&M, Burlington, TJ Maxx, Target, you can go to those places and pay $8 for a shirt. That's still going to be good quality. But here, I'm going to pronounce it incorrectly, so bear with me. But I'll shop at Hainer, I'll shop at UCOM, I'll shop at CNI or CNA or CNI. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. And these things. And the one thing that is frustrating, I live in an Airbnb, and so it is a shared laundry unit. Anytime that I put a shirt or something in there, it's going to come out with a stain. Um, right, or it comes out ripped or something like that. And I've never had to have to wash my clothes by hand or anything like that. So I don't know. I'm not the best at it. I do it with some things, but I don't keep clothes. Honestly, I don't think more than 3 or 4 months. One, because I sweat a lot, and the sweat stains underneath my shirt and just the smell is just ridiculous. I won't keep it. Um, but if it is something like that I bought at like Zara, a very
Sorry.
nice something, a quality shirt that I do like, I do take it to the dry cleaners. But the clothing here is just absolutely absurd. And I also feel like the shoes, unless it's a tennis shoe. I'm a sandal girl. I love sandals. I again miss like a TJ Maxx, a Forever 21, a Payless, like in terms of that, you can still get sandals for cheap, but they're good quality. You can't do that here. I feel like my sandals, especially if you wear them and you have your everyday sandals, oh, they're gone. They're gone within like 2 months. So yeah, just shopping here makes me very and pots and pans. I don't even really cook like that. I'm very much an iFood delivery girl, but I swear I am on my third set of pots and pans that since I've been here for 2 years. So that yeah is my
I
quality.
Mine are pretty good actually, but your story about clothes reminded me of because the first year that I lived here, I lived in Junjiayi, and basically they all got teachers that wanted to be there for 1 year and leave, and they recruited most of them out of America. Most of them had never lived outside of America, and this was not my first dance. It wasn't even my second dance. This is my third expat destination. And their inability to live outside of the American confine. I guess I'm saying this mostly to American audiences because like they were all American and they had such difficulty. There was this one guy, he lived in the Republica with me, but there were Brazilians living there too. And there was a Brazilian who had lived there much longer than anybody else, and he considered it his place. And I didn't think that was unfair. He had this Brazilian habit of where, okay, you're sharing the kitchen, so you cook a bunch of shit once, you put it in the fridge, and then you microwave it, right? And this one American roommate we had, he's like, "What the fuck, man? Like, you're taking so long. You cook in the kitchen every day. What's your problem? Like, don't you know how we do things here?" And he took it really, the American guy, he took it really personally. He's like, "This guy's such an asshole." And I was like, "No, the dude's right. Like, do what we do. Like, cook something once, heat it up for the week. This is not your kitchen. This is our kitchen." So if you find yourself living in community housing, this is one thing. Another thing is you said you never washed anything in by hand. Neither had I. This Republica had no washing machine. One Brazilian guy had a washing machine and he wouldn't let anyone else use it. He was the asshole. So this guy, this same American
I
guy,
wouldn't let anybody use mine either.
exactly. So this American guy is like, man, like I'm getting yelled at for using the kitchen every day. I got to wash my clothes by hand. He had another problem with the fact I think the George Floyd things were going on in America at the time as well, and he was trying to start conversations with it with like British people, Australian people, and Brazil. Me, and we're like what the fuck, like the world doesn't revolve around American news. So he eventually was like, I want to move out, like I want to get my own place. And the school was like, well, this is what it's going to cost you. You're going to need 3 months rent, you're going to get an unfurnished apartment, you're going to have to pay utilities, and you're going to have to add furniture onto that. And the dude was broken, completely broken. I think he left his contract early, just because of these small things. You know, he used the kitchen too much, had to wash his clothes by hand, and nobody could relate to American news. That was it. That-
Sometimes, and this is where maybe I don't want to say too American, but my heart does go out for this guy because in a sense, I feel that when people relocate to America, because America is the melting pot of cultures, they have an easier time to migrate over there. Like it is not that many Americans here. And I feel that to come to a place where you never washed your clothes by hand and there's a washing machine available, like that could be a shock. Respect it. When you're used to cooking every single day, and I have never meal prepped a day in my life. So if you tell me to cook something for the entire week, I'm so indecisive. I hate leftovers. That would literally be a headache for me. And then to know that like your options if you want to move out are unfurnished, 3 months rent, like, and that's what I said earlier, do your research. It is vile, it's super important. Also, if that's the case, also look into Airbnb. They do long-term rentals, but that's another thing. But no, I don't feel like that's easy. I don't. And then I live here and I do not know a lot about Brazilian news. I pay attention to American news because at the end of the day, I'm still American. And sometimes I can't call my friends or I can't talk to people about it like you would do if you were living in the States. And it's a nice way to learn about other people's culture and have a conversation. So yeah, my heart goes out to that guy. I don't think it's that simple.
I don't think it's that simple either, but I like what you said. Do your research. Do your research because at the end of the day, you are in a different country, and yeah, guys, it's very expensive here to buy a washing machine, whether it's for dishes, whether if it's clothes, whatever. So Brazilians are going to guard that thing with their life. It's like you're letting somebody drive your car that you don't know.
Yeah.
Like, it's like that serious. So I get it when the Brazilians like, I'm not letting anybody who use this machine because I paid, I don't know, over 1,000, probably close to 2,000 reais for it, which is not easy money to get in Brazil for the average Brazilian. It would. I always like to play this game. Imagine you go into Best Buy and you buy a washing machine for $2,000. That's crazy, right? You would never do that in your life unless it's like the best, like the washing machine talks to you and is a therapist on the side. Like you're just not going to spend that much money on a washing machine. So those little things that you probably would never think about, you got to think about when you're down here. Now, Kira, I want to go back to clothes though, because man, oh man, bring clothes. The quality of clothes in Brazil is horrible. I don't buy clothes anymore.
Thank you, God.
I don't buy clothes anymore at like actual shops. I buy all my clothes from like thrift shops, used clothes store, because one, it's cheaper, and two, it seems like the quality is a little bit better because the clothes was made longer ago, and maybe some of the stuff came from other countries and stuff. But man, after I spent like $200 on a pair of jeans, where the next day like the zipper was already kind of busted, and then I think I did it again with a jacket that I love.
Wait, $200 or 200
Well,
reais?
reais, but still,
Okay.
we're thinking 200 reais is not a little bit of money, and I'm earning in reais, so it'd be almost like paying $200, let's say, on a
Yeah.
pair. I was like, what the heck? And then I went to TNG once, and I bought this really cute jacket. Man, that thing didn't last me 2 weeks. I have jackets here that my sister brought from the States back in 2009 that are still like perfect. Like the zippers work, the buttons are on. Like all my jackets for this weather, like we got today, they got real cold today.
Mhm.
I need some American clothing, American pants. Same with sneakers. My sneakers, and I run, so my sneakers will last me about 4 months, and that's like mid-range level. Like I'm buying like just the basic shoes for 240, maybe 300 reais. If you want actually quality that'll last you a year, maybe more, you're gonna be paying a lot more, maybe 1,000, 1,200. So you gotta consider the quality of items. A lot. Some people also talk about tools, which I never considered before. But some people bring their toolboxes because they say the tools here break easily. Brazil, unfortunately, does not have. Brazil's a bit infamous, I should say, for lack of quality for its goods and services. Brazil ranks very low in the service industry too. So you just got to be aware that you're going to be frustrated. You're going to be waiting in very long lines, right? Pete, remember when we went to buy a computer? I always bring Pete to buy computers with me because I know nothing about computers. And man, I know that when I ask Peter to do this, we're just going to have a day because we're going to
Yeah.
just drink and eat because it's one guy to show you the computer. It's another guy to go in the back and get the computer. It's another guy to give you the paperwork to sign for the computer. It's another, and I'm not exaggerating. It's another guy to stamp the paper, to send you to another desk so that they can check that it's the right computer in the box. So that's another guy. So after 5 people, which takes about, you're not getting out of there in less than half an hour. It usually takes about an hour.
Where do you go to? I'm sorry, I never knew that. Where do you go to do this at?
This was an extra.
Extra used to have computers.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that.
But I mean, even something like buying clothes, like to buy shoes, you need one person to show you the shoes. And then you go to a desk where you get the slip that says you bought the shoes. And then you have to go to the cashier. That's just shoes. So imagine what it's like when you buy something as expensive as a computer.
I would say I think it also depends because I do have different experiences. So one thing that and Phil did touch on it. If you are earning in dollars or euros, your experience will be different. I am a Mac girl, so one thing that is frustrating for me here, they only have one Apple store. That is the most insane thing in the world.
Good.
Excuse you. Some of us love our Apple products. So
you're getting good service because you're in the bougie store. Apple products here, good Lord, I'm talking 2,000, 3,000 reais. Apple, it's like 10,000, 12,000 reais. You're talking 5 figures in Brazilian currency. That's mega bougie. They're going to treat you better.
Yes, the customer service is there. I will say I don't have like the thousands of people that I had to go through. I will say just the frustrating thing for me is that there's only one Apple store.
We let Kira hang with us every once in a while when she leaves her mansion. You know, she'll come out and she'll hang with us, and she's really nice, guys. I know she's a new voice for you guys, but she's really nice.
What else was I gonna say? Yeah, the Apple store, and then the other frustrating thing. Oh, it just slipped my mind, and it was about the Apple store. I don't remember what I was gonna say.
Well, they don't have a lot of your accessories. I know that. You get frustrated.
The service. You were comparing the service. You don't have to go to that many people.
I have to go through that. Yes, I don't have to go through that many people. And it was another thing I wanted to say. Oh, but yeah, you're right. They don't have a lot of my services, but also I brought a lot of my technology down from the States. Also be aware that if you have something more modern or the newest, latest edition, they probably will not have the products available right away to fix it. That was something that can be very frustrating. Yeah, and I forgot else what I was gonna say, but that's about it. Yeah.
No, but you know what can make it extra frustrating, guys? Especially if you're in a city like Sao Paulo, which depending on where you go, like some stuff like trumps first world country status as far as service, as far as like cleanliness, beauty. So sometimes you're walking around Sao Paulo and you're like, damn, I'm in New York. I'm in like not much difference. And then you realize you're not in New York. You're not in a first world nation when you start to deal with the services, things that they have, things that they don't have. And then you realize, okay, I'm in a developing nation that happens to have some sides of it which are not developing at all. They're like almost first world status or on the same level. And then you have the third world side of the country too. And then a lot of developing stuff. So you got to come with that mentality because when you're traveling, you're going to the nice restaurants, you're going to the best hotels, you're hanging out, you're getting all that. You're like, oh my God, everything works here. I can get my caipirinha when I want it, go out, party. So you think that must be life in Brazil. It's not. It's the opposite of that because you're on holiday mode. In regular day mode, you're dealing with the developing nation side of Brazil, which is very frustrating. They're not going to have all the services that you want, and things don't operate as they should.
Yeah, wait until your power goes out for 5 days, then you'll find out how developed you are.
Exactly.
Like, again, that is where you live. And they make fun of my neighborhood, but yeah, you don't. I do feel, and I feel like I am a little bit sheltered in that way, where even though I do live here, I still feel like I'm always on holiday mode.
But
Yeah.
you don't leave the house. That's why.
Very true. I leave the house, Phil. I go places
You go downstairs to get your ice cream.
to get my input. Yeah.
Exactly. Anyway. Kira, just by the way, look at the clock so you don't get too late for. Oh no, we got time, right? Yeah. Yeah, guys, we're wrapping up in a little bit because Kira's got to go, but two, because we all got to go. It's late, and we've all been working very hard. So I'm trying to think here some last considerations. Definitely close electronics. Like I would say, stuff to bring to Brazil. Definitely bring your own computers, bring your own cell phones. Although cell phones is okay to buy down here, but definitely computers. Anything that's extra as far as technology, that's not like your average thing, like a Mac. I'm not even being funny about it, but usually Apple products are a bit more cutting edge and stuff like that. So anything that's top of the line, electronic wise, bring it yourself. Okay.
Yes.
But do not buy it new, because if you buy it new, it will be taxed as an import.
Yes, open the box, people, when you're on the airplane, and then just say that it's yours. Okay, that's what I did with my iPad.
If you have Apple products and you have that was the thing. If you have Apple insurance does not work here. They don't have the terminology, I can't think of it. Apple insurance does not work here. So you have to buy it. If you buy an Apple product here in Brazil, they have their own type of insurance and it will work. But the insurance that comes with Apple that is in the States does not work here. That's what I wanted to say. And that was frustrating.
Lord,
and I had to buy a whole new iPhone that I was unaware because it's not covered.
Well, that fucking sucks.
Yep.
Okay. But let me see. I think we pretty much hit everything that I wanted to hit. I'm looking here on Quora. Let's see. Somebody asked in Quora, what are some things to know about living in Brazil? Go ahead, Peter.
Yeah, I would say one thing, it's obvious because we cover it almost every podcast, but the safety issue. I mean, I'm from Canada. You can walk down most neighborhoods in any Canadian city any time of night, feel safe. You can talk to people. Some of them may be sketchy, some of them may not. But, and I lived in China as well. I lived in Beijing, which is one of the biggest cities in the world. You can walk down any street, any time of night, no fear. This is not the case here. I wouldn't say you need to have fear, but you need to have caution and common sense, both about where you are and who you talk to.
Agree with that. You got to be aware of your surroundings at all times until you get comfortable. But even then,
when you get comfortable, that's when you get jumped.
Yeah, because I'm thinking my head is always doom, 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 left, right. In fact, I've told this story probably before because I went to Paris and I spent like 14 days there. I came back to Brazil on like a Sunday I came back on a Thursday and I got mugged on a Saturday or a Sunday, right close to my house. And why? Because exactly what Pete said, like my head was still in the clouds. My head was in Paris mode, like what Pete just said. Like wasn't worried about that in Paris. I was walking around at night. I was going here, going there. Like I was like back in the States, like back in Philly. Yeah, you got to be smart. I'm not going to go to the ATM at 11 p.m., but I'm not like, oh my God, who's going to jump me? Who's going to come out? Like here, you never know. And I say that knowing that Sao Paulo is not as dangerous as it seems. Like it really isn't, guys. If you go per capita, like chances of you getting jacked here, it could happen, but you pretty much have a good chance of not getting jacked here. But it could happen. That's the thing. It's just like, and if you haven't been jacked, you definitely will meet somebody who has. Okay, so it's definitely part of the culture. Real quick here, we already talked about the bureaucracy and it is crippling, and they definitely talk about the CPF. Transportation, remember I said at the beginning, I have friends from the States that I don't see as much down here and we still love each other. It's not that we're mad at each other. It's just, it's a pain in the ass to go anywhere unless you take Ubers all the time. And, it can get expensive to take Ubers. But yeah, the trains, the metros, it can be a real pain in the ass. The healthcare, there's universal healthcare. I think it depends on what city you're in. I would disagree with she says insufficient, but I guess that's for the whole country. Education, definitely low quality. We definitely hit on that. not really close enough investment in sports. Well, I have to agree. There's a lot like in professional sports, you just got soccer basically. But one thing that I was really looking forward to, speaking of soccer, is coming down here and playing soccer because I grew up playing soccer on those big fields, and they don't have them down here. Here they play a lot more futsal, indoor soccer with the little balls. Tennis, another game. I played tennis since I was 9. I used to play every damn weekend for free. Any high school has like 5 tennis courts. Here in Brazil, 0. Like I'll play a game of tennis like maybe 3 times a year. I didn't do one game in the last maybe 2 years. Why? Because tennis courts, you got to pay to do tennis courts. Finding the time to do it, the free ones, there's like people on it all the time. It kind of sucks with sports. Culture, it's getting better. Science, long way to go for science. Lack of confidence in government, definitely. I think for me, my first year here, guys, one thing that I felt really like on my skin was the weight of the government. Living in the US, I just never paid attention to what was happening politically. I knew it was happening, but it didn't affect me day to day. And I just feel maybe because of the bureaucracy, the taxes, all this stuff, like you just feel the Brazilian government here, or I did way more than I did in the US. So be aware of that. Be aware that there's a lot of politicking, a lot of taxes, definitely. Extreme income inequality. I think that's important to know. And maybe we'll touch on that in the next episode about cultural differences, about how sometimes you have to just be careful who you're friends with, because they may be cool, but just because you make X amount, they think you're a millionaire because of the wealth inequality, It's really, really like extreme. So it would be like, I don't know, in the US, you make $3,000 a month, which is nice, but it's not like, wow. And your new bestie only makes $800 a month. Hey, it sucks to say, but there may be a moment where that disparity is going to be deleterious to you when that person goes into your house and starts.
This is why you need to maintain friendships with people in your income bracket.
In Brazil, I think it's essential. Like you do find some people that are lower income that you're like, that's my heart. These are my people. I have a few people like that, but I've gotten smarter about that. It's not everybody. And it sucks to be like that, but it's just I've had enough stuff stolen. I've had enough stuff stolen that I'm like, it's done. And, it's a religious country. So but that's more culture side, so you got to deal with a lot of the religious differences down here. Anything you want to say, Kira? Because I know you got to go soon.
No, I think I touched on everything. I would just say do your research, be patient, give yourself grace. And if you have the opportunity, I would say get a remote job from home so that some of the struggles we listed, you don't have to go through. And you can enjoy a holiday experience every day.
Yeah, guys, this is true. Look, Kira, just because you brought it up, I forgot this. Find a job. Guys, this is really important. Some people come down here thinking, oh, I'm going to go to Brazil. I speak English, so I'm going to get a job. No, you're not, okay? It says like here, like many countries, Brazilian law dictates that companies need to prioritize nationals for any position. 2/3 of the employees should be Brazilian. Or an employer may also need to prove a Brazilian cannot do the job. So it's a lot easier to move to Brazil if you work in a specialized field, or if you're a specialist. And if you're planning to move as a student, you should find and accept your placement first. If you're planning to move here for less than 90 days, then that isn't very important. But if you're going past 90 days, come here with a job, either have a remote job. We are, the what do you call it? The nomad visa just came out a couple of years ago, the digital nomad visa, but there are also regular work visas. Regular work visas are hard to come by. So I would definitely try for the digital nomad visa. A lot of people teach English for this reason. It's just a way to get money in, and then you may luck out. Like I work a contract job now at a high school, but it's tough to get that position. It was just I happen to know somebody that happened to know somebody, and boom, I'm in there. So, but it's still education. Education is usually where a lot of people land because it's the easiest line of work to get into if you're competing against Brazilians. Otherwise, don't think you're going to come down here and like, well, I'm an IT specialist. I'm going to work at Google headquarters in Brazil. No, you're not. Okay. I mean, you might, but chances are you're not, because they're looking for Brazilians for those positions, not you. So keep that in mind. when you are coming to Brazil. And of course, learn the language. That's very important. All right, folks. I think that's good, huh? We don't want to
I think we've
overstay
covered
our
all the
welcome.
bases.
You got something, Peter?
No, I said I think we've covered all the bases.
Yeah. Leave them wanting more. So, folks, that's it. It is the Brazil Expat Journal, the BJ you can trust. I'm going to play my outro music. I want to thank Peter for being on. It's good to hear your voice again. I want to thank Kira for going on this crazy ride with me. And here's the outro music in my NPR voice that says, thank you for listening to the Brazil Expat Journal, the BJ you can trust. We will be back next week. And hopefully we'll have my friend Marcos on, and we'll be talking about the cultural side of this discussion of making a long stay in Brazil. If I can get him on, we'll have a different topic. Hopefully on Monday, but it seems like Thursday is being a better day just because my Mondays have been really busy. But we'll try for Monday. But if not, check us out on Thursday. Like and subscribe, share, and that's it, guys. Adios.